The text lit up on my wife's phone while I still had coffee grounds crusted under my fingernails. I can still taste you. No exclamation point, just 4 words that ended 14 years of marriage. Most men would have screamed. I just felt something cold and familiar settle into my jaw, the same feeling I used to get right before things got very, very quiet. The guy who sent that message wanted a fight. He just had no idea who he'd picked. My name is Ryan Vance. I'm 38, I sell commercial HVAC systems for a living, and before that I spent 12 years as a Navy SEAL. This is the story of the night my quiet, boring suburban life outside Louisville. Kentucky finally came apart, and what happened when the man my wife was sleeping with decided he wanted to teach me a lesson. 14 years of marriage doesn't end with a gunshot. It ends with the smell of cheap eucalyptus body wash on your wife's collarbone when she leans over the kitchen island to grab her keys. I didn't say anything the first time I noticed it, or the second. I spent over a decade learning how to sit perfectly still in places that actively wanted me dead. Sitting still in a Kentucky kitchen while my wife lied to my face was just a different use of the same skill. Her name is Erin. We met when I was fresh out of training, still full of ambition and misplaced romance about what my life would look like. Back then she liked the uniform, she liked the idea of me. But the reality of being married to a special operator isn't a movie. It's 6-month deployments. It's coming home with a hollow stare and waking up at 3 a.m. Because the ice maker sounded like something else. By the time I hung it all up and traded a tactical vest for a polo shirt and a clipboard, whatever she'd loved about me had dried up. I became a ghost in my own living room. I was at the sink scrubbing a pan when her phone buzzed on the counter. A text, then a voice note. Erin was upstairs in the shower. I could hear the pipes groaning, a sound I'd meant to fix for months. I dried my hands and tapped the screen. She hadn't locked it. A voice spilled out thick and overconfident, the kind of voice that drinks protein shakes out of a gallon jug. Babe, you left your sports bra in my locker. Tell your sad sack husband you're working late tomorrow. We need to go over your ground game. A low chuckle followed. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't punch a wall. I just felt a heavy, exhausting weight settle behind my eyes. My left knee, the one that still carries a sliver of old shrapnel, gave a dull throb. When Erin came downstairs in a robe, she looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in a year. She saw the phone exactly where she'd left it, but she saw my stance change. Weight shifted, shoulders dropped, a posture I hadn't used since my last deployment. You listened to it, she said, no trembling, just a strange defiance. Eucalyptus, I said. That's what you smell like now, she crossed her arms. His name's Tyler, he owns the gym downtown, the kickboxing place I've been going to, right, kickboxing. Don't look at me like that, she snapped, anger flaring up out of nowhere. You've been gone 5 years, Ryan, not physically, you're just not here. You come home, you eat, you stare at the wall, you sleep, you're a corpse. She took a breath. He makes me feel alive. He actually looks at me. I want a divorce. We're going to be together. I looked around the kitchen, the smudged fridge, the stack of unopened mail, the bowl of browning bananas, and realized with a strange, sharp clarity that I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt something closer to insult, like territory had been crossed. Okay, I said. Erin blinked, thrown off. That's it. You don't even care. Do you want me to break dishes, Erin? I walked past her, the eucalyptus thick in my nose. I'll pack a bag. Have your lawyer draft the papers. I packed 5 shirts, 3 pairs of jeans, a shaving kit, and a lockbox with my old service records. I was backing out of the driveway when my phone rang. Unknown number, I put it on speaker. Ryan, this is Tyler, the protein shake voice. Erin called me, she's crying. He waited for a reaction. When I didn't give him one, he pushed. You think you can just walk out on her, leave her with the mess? You're a coward. She asked for the divorce. Tyler, I'm obliging. You won. Congratulations. Don't disrespect her, he barked. You come down to my gym. We settle this house situation face to face. You're not walking off with half her equity, you lazy piece of come down, unless you're too scared to face a real man. I looked at the dashboard clock. I had nothing but time. Give me the address, I said. If I had known what that gym visit would set into motion, I might have just kept driving. But I didn't. I turned around. Tyler's gym was wedged between a mattress store and a vape shop. The sign read Titan Combat Academy in sharp red letters. Inside it smelled like bleach and old sweat, fluorescent lights buzzing over blue mats and heavy bags swinging on chains. In the center of the room was Tyler, late 20s, spray-tanned, built like a guy who spends more time in the mirror than doing real cardio. He was holding pads for a teenager barking commands, a black belt cinched around his waist. He spotted me and swaggered over, chest out, arms held wide like he was carrying invisible watermelons. "Ryan, I presume," he said, looking down his nose at me. He had a couple inches on me, but his stance was too high, too rigid, the stance of a man who'd never actually needed to hit someone who was trying to kill him. "I'm here," I said, hands loose in my jacket pockets. "Say what you need to say." A few gym regulars drifted closer. Tyler was playing to an audience now. "Erin deserves the house," he announced, loud enough to bounce off the metal ceiling. She put the down payment down. "You've been coasting on her paycheck ever since you quit whatever sales job you had. You sign it all over." "I pay the mortgage," I said quietly. "I don't care what you do. I know what you are." A weak, pathetic man who couldn't keep his wife satisfied. "Now you're trying to financially abuse her." I watched the pulse in his throat as he talked, measured the 2 feet of distance between us out of old habit, not because I wanted to use it, but because some part of my brain never really clocked out. The thought made my stomach turn. That box was supposed to stay shut. "House gets sold, we split it 50-50. That's the law," I said, turning to leave. "Take care of her. She likes her coffee black, no sugar." I got one step before a hand clamped down on my shoulder. "I didn't say you were dismissed," Tyler hissed. My body reacted before my brain did. I rotated my shoulder, broke the grip without effort, and turned to face him. I didn't raise my hands, I just looked at him. For half a second, something flickered in Tyler's face. He felt the air change, felt the total absence of fear looking back at him. But his audience was watching, and his ego wouldn't let him back down. "You think you're tough," he sneered, bouncing on his toes, playing to the room now. "Friday night, open mat exhibition. Erin's coming, you show up, we do one round, 5 minutes. You survive without tapping or getting knocked out, I'll buy her out of the house myself. You don't show or you quit, you sign the papers and walk with nothing." It was a stupid, meaningless bet born out of pure ego. But something in me, something old and dark, answered before I could stop it. "Friday," I said. "I don't need gloves." I walked out into the rain. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. Something in me that had been sleeping for 5 years had just opened one eye. That night, back in a cheap motel room off the interstate, I sat on a mattress that sagged in the middle and looked at my own hands under the yellow lamp light. Thick knuckles, old scars, a body that had done things a suburban HVAC salesman's body has no business remembering. My knee throbbed. I walked to the sink, drank rusty tap water, and swallowed some ibuprofen dry. I was 38 years old. I hadn't been in a real fight in over a decade. My body ran on fumes and old injuries. I was rusty and I was tired. I sat by the window and watched the rain hit the parking lot, and the strangest part was I wasn't angry. When a man learns his wife is sleeping with a spray-tanned gym owner, the script says rage, broken glass, a bottle of something strong. I just felt empty. For 5 years I'd shrunk myself down trying to be the calm, boring husband Erin said she wanted after complaining the military had made me too hard, and she'd resented me for it anyway. My phone buzzed. "Erin," I let it ring a few times before answering. "What, you're not actually going down there Friday, are you?" Her voice was tight, the exact tone she used when I left my boots by the door. "Please tell me you're not going to embarrass both of us over some midlife crisis. You think fighting him wins me back? It's pathetic." A dry laugh worked its way out of my chest. "I don't want you back, Erin. The house gets sold, we split the equity." Tyler made a counteroffer. "I'm just showing up. He's going to hurt you," she snapped, and I realized it wasn't concern in her voice, it was math. "He competes. He's won amateur belts. He trains 6 days a week. You're going to get your teeth knocked out, and then I'm the one dealing with the dental bill before we even close the joint account. Just don't show up." "Let him have the win." She was worried about the paperwork, not about me. "Tell him I don't wear gloves," I said, and hung up. I stood in the center of that faded carpet, closed my eyes, and sank into a slow squat, my joints cracking like dry branches. I didn't need a training montage. In my old life, violence was never a sport with rounds and points. It was a switch. Either it was off, and you were a man restrained by the ordinary rules of a normal life, or it was on. For 5 years I'd kept that switch taped down. That night I reached into the dark and pulled the tape off. By Friday I almost talked myself out of it twice. "But I want to tell you what happened at that gym." because it wasn't at all what anybody in that room was expecting, including me. Friday night, the air inside Titan Combat Academy was thick with body spray and nervous energy. The open mat exhibition had pulled in a crowd, regulars, local tough guys, a few girlfriends holding plastic cups of beer. I walked in wearing a plain gray shirt, sweatpants, barefoot. No wraps, no mouthguard. I walked with a slight limp, favoring my bad knee. The room went quiet as people noticed me. I didn't belong there, and everyone could tell. I looked exactly like what I was, a tired suburban husband who sells air conditioners. Tyler was already on the mat, pacing, wearing black and red shorts with the wolf stitched across them. His wrists were taped bright red. When he saw me, a wide, hungry grin spread across his face. Aaron stood near the front desk holding a water bottle, wearing a top I'd never seen. When our eyes met, she looked away first. Well, 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 Tyler announced over the music, clapping his gloved hands together. He actually showed up. Give the man a hand for having a pulse. Scattered, mocking applause rippled through the room. I stepped onto the mat, stopping 10 feet from him. 5 minutes, Tyler said to a guy holding a stopwatch, then looked back at me. Ready to earn that equity, old man. Or you want to tap now and save yourself the dental work? Start the clock, I said. Tyler didn't waste a second. He closed the distance fast, hands up, and threw a sharp jab to test me. I didn't move my head, it caught me clean on the cheekbone. My head snapped back. The crowd let out a collective asterisk ooh. I tasted copper. He smirked and circled, landing a hard leg kick that lit up my thigh with pain. He was fast. He was conditioned. If this had been a real match with rules, I'd have already been behind on points. He stepped in for a follow-up combination, looking to end it fast and impress the room. That's when I flipped the switch. I didn't try to block his punch. I slipped my head just enough that the glove grazed past my ear, and instead of backing away, I stepped straight into him, closing the distance completely. Fighting for sport is about managing distance. What I know is about closing it. I drove forward, controlled his head in one arm, and swept his base out from under him. He hit the mat hard, the air blowing out of his lungs in one gasp. I came down with him, not to posture and throw punches. That gives an opponent room to move, but to stay flat, heavy, controlling. I pinned his head, my forearm across his throat, and held there. He bucked hard, trying to escape, but he was fighting leverage he didn't understand. Get off him, someone yelled from the crowd. Tyler's face went red, then a deeper, darker color. His eyes, wide with real panic now, had nothing left of the arrogance from a minute ago. He tapped the mat, once, twice. I held it a moment longer than I needed to, long enough for him to understand exactly what he'd walked into, then let go and stood up. Tyler rolled onto his side, coughing, gasping, clutching his chest. The whole gym had gone dead silent. The music kept playing in the corner, but nobody said a word. They were staring at me, a limping, bleeding, 38-year-old HVAC salesman, like I'd just walked out of somewhere they'd never been. How long? I asked the guy with the stopwatch. He looked at his phone, stunned. 40 seconds. I turned toward the edge of the mat. Erin's water bottle had slipped out of her hand and rolled across the floor. Her face had gone pale. She looked at my bleeding lip, then down at Tyler, still on his knees trying to catch his breath. I don't think she recognized me in that moment. She'd spent 5 years telling me I was a ghost, and now that the ghost had shown its teeth, she looked genuinely afraid. Tell his accountant to have the transfer ready by Monday, I said as I walked past her, or I'll come collect it myself. I pushed through the glass doors into the cool night air. My leg hurt. My lip stung, but I didn't feel any triumph. Just a quiet, tired sadness for 14 years I couldn't get back, and a strange, real relief that it was finally, completely over. I got in my truck, started the engine, and drove away, leaving the smell of eucalyptus and bleach behind me for good. Looking back now, there's a real difference between playing at something dangerous and actually being someone who's lived through danger. That night, a gym full of strangers learned the hard way that the quietest guy in the room is usually the last one you want to test. That's the story. What would you have done in Ryan's position, walked away quietly, or shown up like he did? Let me know in the comments and tell me where you're watching from tonight. If you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, subscribe for more real, grounded stories, and I'll see you in the next one.